to the session, Designing and Co-creating Policies with Older Adults for Age-Friendly Urban Communities, co-organized by the City & Co and the SIRENE projects. Today, we are glad to host Loredana Ivan. Loredana is a professor at the National University of Political Studies and Public Administration, Communication Department in Bucharest, Romania. She has a PhD in sociology and a postdoctorate in social psychology.
Yes.
She has a chair of the European Network of Aging Studies between 2018 and 2022. So Loredana will talk to us about the City & Co project and cities in the Netherlands, Poland, and Romania that aim to use age-friendly strategies to involve their citizens' views and experiences in designing evaluation tools and policy plans. So Loredana, thank you very much for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for inviting me to talk about the project that we have started 3 years ago in 2022, and it will end at the end of this year. And it's a fascinating project involving 3 countries and 4 cities: Bucharest, where I am based, Wrocław and Krakow in Poland, and The Hague in the Netherlands. The project started from the concept of age-friendly city and community launched by the World Health Organization, and the agenda followed this concept in 2007. The project has been sponsored by the European Commission and the Urban Europe program, and it is part of the ERANET grant. I'm going to talk briefly about each part of the project and underlying the role of co-creation in the project, the role of co-creation activities in the project, and particularly focusing on the importance of involving older adults and policy makers. As you see, we have a website of the project where you can find more details than the ones I will present today. And here is a view of the team which participated in the project over these 3 years. The project has 4 working packages, 4 main directions and activities that interconnect. And I'm going to talk briefly about each of them. But I want to underline the fact that starting with Work Package 2, we actually talk about co-creation and designing things together with all the adults and further with policy makers. So first, a bit of the context of the project and also the aim of the proposal. Some of you might know that in 2007, World Health Organization has launched a guide called the Global Age-Friendly City Guide, which has been used until now for those who support or propose policies in the urban areas, with having an age-friendly framework in the mind. This guide underlined the fact that urban communities are becoming more and more populated by older adults, by people 65 years and above, as the world population is aging, and Europe in particular, and then there will be in the future more and more older adults living in the urban communities, living in the cities, as also the cities' population is growing. So the concept of age-friendly city lies, I think, at the intersection of 2 global phenomena: the urbanization of the communities and the aging of the communities. Age-friendly city is also a concept described by the World Health Organization along 8 dimensions that you will see in the form of petals of this flower. And the flower is actually a metaphor used by the World Health Organization, namely transportation, housing, social participation, respect and social inclusion, civic participation and employment, communication and information, community support and health services, outdoor spaces and well-being. The guide has been used until now, and actually many cities try to follow this agenda in creating policies at the city level, at the urban communities level, to increase the quality of life of all the adults, increase the way people, increase um, the positive aspects of people who living in cities, and also make these cities more livable, more better places to live. As an addition, in 2023, World Health Organization published a new guide with some nuances, insisting a lot on community support and health services, on social connection, on reducing ages and mobility throughout the cities. I am going back to these aspects later. As a result of the guide launch in 2007, a movement appeared at the global level, namely the Network for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities. Any city could apply to be part of this global network, meaning that the city would commit to follow the agenda launched by the World Organization. As a result, some cities and policymakers become very much aware of the importance of this guide, and try to improve the life of their citizens by commit to policies that would follow the framework of global of age-friendly city. As you see here in this picture, which is present an overview of the cities which are member of the Global Network for Age-Friendly City and Community, they are distributed not equal around the globe, and some countries, as Portugal or United Kingdom or Belgium and Netherlands as well, have more age-friendly city, more commitment to age-friendly city than others. As a parenthesis, I would say that Romania does not have yet a city which is committed to follow the agenda, whereas, for example, in Poland, there are a few who are committed to be part of this global policy movement. Both Krakow and Wrocław, who are part of this project, become member of this global network prior to the project or during the duration of our project. And in Netherlands, The Hague was already a member from the beginning in the movement. So one challenge for World Organization when you launch this platform and suggest that policymakers should follow some kind of guidance in creating more livable cities is the fact that you lack instruments to measure the progress or the actual situation of the of such policies. As you have seen in the picture before, it's not always related to the development of economic development of that urban community, the fact that the city is willing to follow this framework, but more in connection to the willingness of different policy makers to embrace such an approach and create cities which would be more aware of the quality of life of older adults. Thus, it's important to create instruments that are standardized, that can that allow comparisons between different urban communities, and then could be used globally to assess the progress of policies implemented in various urban communities. Here is how we did an adaptation of this validation of such instrument in Bucharest, and the same adaptation and validation has been done in Poland. First, we start from a age-friendly city and community questionnaire already tested by Deacon and Van Hoof in The Hague some time before the project start. And this instrument existed and it was validated for that older population. And the next obvious step was to use this instrument and adapt it for other languages. As a result, in Bucharest, for example, we proceed to phase one, a forward and backward translation of the instrument, then a phase of adaptation using experts in gerontology, urban planning, sociological research and policies, then a phase validation with 10 older adults from 6 different parts of Bucharest, and the last phase, we conduct a confirmatory analysis using a representative sample of more than 400 older adults, 65 plus, in Bucharest to test how the instrument works. The same process was conducted in Poland, and I have to say now that FCCQ become global instrument that many countries, Portugal, Italy, Australia, also countries in Asia, United States, Canada, are taking the instrument to be used in various cities. And currently, this instrument has been proposed by the World Health Organization as an instrument that can be used to measure the progress of different policies in the cities which are committed to age-friendly city agenda. The questionnaire itself contains, is rather easy to be used and implemented, contains 23 items covering all areas suggested by the World Health Organization in the initial guide. So the 8 areas that I mentioned before, the petals of that metaphoric flower, and we added also the financial situation in the 9th dimension, mainly because many people in our cities would say, well, I can have access to this and these services around the city, but I'm not maybe able to afford them. So the financial situation, we realize, is one aspect, is one dimension that triggers the evaluation of different other aspects of city life. You can see here the fact that World Health Organization recommended this instrument, and several languages in which this instrument exists already on the website of World Health Organization: Dutch, English, Japanese, Macedonian, Romanian. Other countries are following, and they are going to be here soon. As how this instrument looks like, you can see pictures on the left side of the screen, and also the instrument comes along with a scores for each dimension and what is the way to interpret it, making this instrument very easy to use by policy makers and even by people who are not experts in measurements or sociological research. And just one example on how we can use this instrument to interpret policies which are run on the city level in any city. I'm giving the example of Bucharest and the use of FCCQ to test all the people's views of the various aspects of their city lives along the 9 dimensions that I mentioned before, and how I analyze the data based on FCCQ, this instrument. You can see that in total we had more than 400 participants who fill this questionnaire, also social demographic data about these participants, and they were distributed along the 6 sectors of Bucharest, which are actually separate districts of Bucharest, by separate political administration, and also many times by separate public policies, as Bucharest has a mayor at the city level, but also mayors for each of these sectors, which are elected by the citizens. And you might see here that the green parts of show where people had positive and very positive ratings, whereas the red parts show dimensions, aspects where people had negative or strongly negative opinions on how things are going at the city level on different dimensions listed in the questionnaire. In the case of white, it means that opinion or in the mean, not too positive, not too negative. And you can see, for example, from this table, that in case of Romania, in case of Bucharest in particular, respect and social inclusion was a dimension very negatively related by the older adults, regardless of their sector, regardless of their district from Bucharest, as we notice also regardless of the social demographic characteristic of the older people who participated in the research. This is a particularity for Bucharest, which we did not find in other cities which are part of the project. And this is important to notice that although the instrument is standardized and allows comparisons between cities, allows analyzing progress of policymakers and policies at the city level in time, the instrument allows a lot of interpretation in according to the context of each city. And to show this, I'm going to show a bit how I interpret the data on in the case of Bucharest, for example. The 6 sectors we already know they are not equally developed in economic terms. And also the highest percentage of all the adults 65 plus are actually the highest percentage is actually in areas which are the richest areas of Bucharest, mainly sector 1 and 2, and more concentrated in close to the core of Bucharest areas, so in areas which are a bit more developed economically. Therefore, this is an aspect, a contextual aspect that explains sometimes the views of people towards different policies at various districts. One interesting aspect that came from this research is what we call personas. Personas are actually clusters derived from the data, and these clusters were found in all cities when we run the analysis using FCCQ questionnaire. Well, these personas are actually clusters. Clusters meaning typologies, types of people that would give certain ratings on the age-friendly city dimensions according to their social economic status. Cluster 1, in case of Bucharest, and not only because these clusters exist actually in all cities we investigate, is the cluster of the poorest in terms of economic resources and also education or other social economic status aspects. They tend to rate everything quite negatively, including housing, community support and health services, respect and social inclusion, and so on. And they are, less optimistic about the life in the city, and tend to evaluate quite negative their quality of life, financial situation being strongly negative evaluated. Well, cluster 2 and cluster 3 are rather in the middle. Cluster 4 is formed by affluent people, quite high income and high social status, who tend to have more positive views towards the life in their cities on all dimensions. Here not on respect and social inclusion, as I said before, which is a particularity in Romania that has been rated all over by all categories of people as very negative. And of course, when we move from cluster 1 to cluster 4, we move actually from the poorest to the more affluent older adults, and then the ratings tend to be more positive. This shows that the people views are dependent to which personas they lie in, and we should not neglect this when we do the analysis, and also when we analyze policy success in different cities. Second work packet was to develop a geoportal. Actually, a geoportal, in my understanding, which I'm not really an IT person, is an app, is a tool that allows you to use to evaluate different aspects. In this case, of the city, with the help of digital device. It's like a web constructed tool to allow, in this case, all the adults to monitor the quality of their urban life. And the geoportal has to be aimed to be designed in this project in all 4 cities. It is an innovative special tool for a community-based assessment on age-friendly city, and it can be used further in other countries as well. Allows participants, in this case all the adults, to rate their city life, their neighborhoods, to rate the part of the city, the community where they live, according to the 9 dimensions that we talked about. And here is a bit of how we created the geoportal. First, we didn't want to create the geoportal using a top-bottom approach from the IT person to the users, but using the bottom-up approach with a co-creation approach, involving all the adults in all steps of the project. In Romania, for example, in 2024, so this year, in January, February, we run 2 co-creation sessions to test and create and test the geoportal, and in the other cities, approximately in the same period of time, similar sessions well conducted. The recruitment process followed the specificity of the city. All people have to be 65 plus, but for example, in Bucharest, we select people from all those 6 sectors of Bucharest that I talked before. And in all city, recruitment process follow the idea of having people with various socioeconomic backgrounds in this a co-creation session about prototype creation and use. You can see here some photos from the sessions. First co-creating session with all the adults in all cities involve first. All the adults has to be in touch with the project, understand what is the project about, and particularly the concept of age-friendly city and the 9 dimensions consisting of a flower, like I showed before, and what this dimension mean in terms of everyday situation. We also aim for, as a first session, to build a mutual trust, to get to know each other, and getting first insights about from participants what is important to put in such a geoportal, such an app that would allow them to evaluate the city life on the 9 dimension mentioned before, and also to get some insights about the preferences in terms of visual aspects of the geoportal and other functionalities. Second co-creation session, already using an app which is called Figma, that is largely used to design prototypes in various fields. Older adults were able to see prototypes of the geoportal. We present them first prototype and second prototype of the geoportal, and they were able to judge, to evaluate each aspect of the prototype. And we could, with the help of all the adults, involving them in this co-creation process interactively and continuously, we could move different parts of the prototype to fit their needs or their preferences. We also gain insights about the flow of information, what was easy to be seen or to be accessed, and what was more difficult to be accessed, or for the first prototype or the second prototype. In the third co-creation session, actually it is a real geoportal, a prototype that is launched and installed on people mobile phones, and participants literally could test the app. They could evaluate, and we run this session particularly to understand how difficult it is to use and how easy it is to use this app, what type of outputs they would create. They were asked to upload photos of different aspects of their neighborhoods, accompanied by comments that will present the issue they want to raise about living in their neighborhoods. Now, they could be positive aspects of living in different neighborhoods of their cities, or negative aspects. And they have to upload items, photos, and comments along the 9 dimensions of the age-friendly city and community concept. During this session, we also discussed the visual elements, the ergonomy of the app, for clarity of the language. I have to qualify here saying that the app has been shown in Romanian language, and in other cities also in the local language, to be easy to use. Also challenges and motivation they might have in using this app, and their willingness to get involved further with the app and with our project. Here is some examples from the co-creation sessions. So here, for example, is an example output when we co-create the design of the app, of the geoportal, with all the adults, and using flip charts and working in groups. They design the prototype according to their own views, by mentioning where they will locate the 9 dimension and in which form, as well as what type of elements they will include in each of the 9 dimensions. And here is another example how, using co-creation with all the adults, we contribute to the to a better geoportal that we initially create in the initial stage of the prototype. For example, for each dimension, it has been used an icon, and then these icons have been modified into new icons after discussing with participants whether these icons are suitable for the domain or not. We change the icon according to their perceptions and the easiness of imagine one dimension while looking to these icons. And you could see that in some cases the colors have been modified, or the drawings have been modified to fit the older adults' needs, and opinions from all cities have been considered. Well, some reflections on these co-creation sessions during the phase of designing the prototype, and in particular for this type of prototypes, as is this geoportal. The end users in this type of geoportal are very important, and they need to be involved not only when the prototype is ready, but throughout the whole process. Reflections of the participants, subsequent reflections of participants contribute to the modifications of the project, adjustment until the prototype fits their needs. It's more a dynamic perspective when you look from inside, from what is the meaning of different aspects of the prototype to what is the context in which they will use it. And of course, these technological prototypes are culturally sensitive, and you have to take into account such things. Many have commercial purposes. In this case, the purpose of such geoportal is mainly to be used by policymakers and getting help from citizens to tailor their policies, their policy plans and strategies at the city level. Therefore, citizens see they become involved in changing their community life and being active in participating in the decision of the decision process at the city level. And then we go to work pocket 4, which involve photo productions with all the people in for all 4 cities, meaning they had to use the app minimum 3 months and upload different photos from their neighborhoods along the 9 dimension of the geoportal. And to do so, people were firstly introduced to the tool. They were familiarized with the tool on their mobile phone. There was a training session on how to use this tool and some guidance for the users. They were in touch with the research team in each city in case of technical difficulties or any type of limitations, and data collection involved actually the inputs people provide using photos and comments from the neighborhoods in which they live. And I will show how data analysis will look like, how data analysis will look at in further. This is an image of the training session of the tool, the geoportal, with all the people who install a Kobo toolbox on their phones with the app, and how they learn how to upload photos while being inside and then going outside and taking photos in the city. We get many photos in all 4 cities, in total more than 1,000 photos. There were 76 participants in all 4 cities who used the app for more than 3 months. A few technical problems, I would say, and we had reports on data on photos which have been uploaded every twice per month, with preserving people anonymity, and each person actually had a code on reflecting the device they use, and also we could see the code, the photo which has been uploaded, and domain to be able to analyze the data. You could see that here the process of involving all the adults starts a bit slow, with people getting first to know the tool. So the number of people who actually upload the photos in the beginning was really small, and then increased up almost exponential, particularly in Bucharest in the weeks after the training. As we expected, outdoor spaces and buildings was the dimension with more photos uploaded, but it's also a dimension that is easy to notice while walking or just moving to the neighborhood. Whereas, for example, other aspects like social respect and social inclusion is much more difficult to be reflected in a photo, and less photos have been uploaded in all cities. Just some examples to give some ideas of how these outputs might look like. Here is a positive example and a negative example of aspects of the city life on the dimension outdoor spaces and buildings. Uh, on the right side is an example, a positive example from Wroclaw, when the comment of the person is even small spaces can be nicely arranged. In the left side, there is a negative example from Romania, where the comment is tree blown down by wind. Many complaints have been made about this, and probably nothing has happened. Um, Another example I will not give examples for each dimension, just some examples to figure out how these items might look like, and why it's important to have such tool and understand what type of policies people would expect at the city level in their neighborhoods. A positive example again in Wrocław about the increased number of connections in relation to the dimension transportation. And here is a negative aspect in the Netherlands, in The Hague, where one participant said that this transport stop has been closed due to budget cuts. I already said that respect and social inclusion was much more difficult to be illustrated in photos taken from the neighborhoods, but there were some photos on these dimensions that illustrate what people mean by the concept of respect and social inclusion. Here in the right side is a positive example from Romania showing flowers of respect to the individual level, and in a negative example in the Netherlands in the left side, showing the fact that a person who has a disability, is handicapped, he has some difficulties in using some of the facilities of the city, particularly the swimming pool. Communication and information, again, some example. In the right side, you see a positive example from Wrocław, showing the fact that there is a free weekly information bulletin, which is also distributed to all the adults and could be found online. From the municipality. In the negative example, Romanian Bucharest territorial information desk, and how this looks like. And last example, I have to say that it is important because we also realize that people refer to the dimension of financing and affordability in their photos, in the items that they have uploaded in the geo portal. Positively, for example, in Netherlands, when somebody uploads the fact that older adults or people with low income can use an income pass to participate in various activities at the city level. Whereas in the negative example from Romania, one participant mentioned the cost of life, particularly uploading a photo with the bread and the price of bread in the supermarket. Well, not only analyzing the photo in a more qualitative way, as I showed before, is important with the help of GeoPortal, but more sophisticated analysis run at the city level that could be important outputs for city planners and policymakers. One of these complex analysis is sentiment analysis, run with the help of the outputs provided by the citizens and you see that the green aspects of different parts of the cities are located according to the photos and comments distributed by all the others, as well as the negative aspects, and different parts of the city are illustrated in terms of positive and negative aspects from the citizens' point of view, in this case from all the adults' point of view. Also, another output which is possible as a result from the geoportal is the heat map. The heat map could be designed for positive aspects and negative aspects, and this is an illustration on having, when the color red showing the highest value and the color blue shows the lowest value, you could see the how is are called the spots that are need intervention at the city level, and spots which are let's say not that urgent in terms of interventions and policy strategies. We presented, for example, these maps to different sessions to all the adults, as well as other results from our projects, and asked their opinion. And then we involved them also in this last stage of the geoportal creation, when we practically get them in touch with the results of their outputs and ask whether these results reflect their views on the cities. And for example, this is an interesting map I present in Bucharest to all the adults, and you could see that the heat map shows a kind of central point in a certain part of the city. And I asked their opinion why they think this is a problem, or many problems concentrated in that part of the city, and they had many insights on what is going on in that part of the city and why the problems or the negative aspects are concentrated. There, many things I had no idea, and I had to consider the fact that many of these participants have lived almost entire their life in Bucharest, that they are very much in touch with various aspects of the city. Also, during the process of designing the geoportal, we ask people feedback over the use of the app, of the use of the geoportal. This is an example of a form used in Bucharest, but similar form in local languages have been used in other cities. You could see that we had in wave 1, 18 answers from Bucharest, 19 in wave 2, and even more answers in wave 3, meaning that at the end of each month, we actually come back to participants and ask them to rate the easiness of using the application, whether the application is intuitive or not, if the application functions well, it has good visibility, aesthetics, and also that allows them to upload the items they want. It's a kind of report we got every month regarding how all the adults rated the app, and this it was important to understand how they interact with the app during this whole process. And we move on to the work packet 4, which is a process which has been taking place from June this year, and it will end this October with the actual session which will be run in Bucharest. So we were in a stage of preparation until now, and the actual session, the actual co-creation session, will take place in October in Bucharest. What is this session about? We have all the citizens from all 4 cities involved in the project: Bucharest, Bucharest, Wrocław, Krakow, and The Hague, and also policy makers in the 4 cities. They are brought together in Bucharest to draft an agenda of age-friendly city agenda based on the evidence from this project, to inform policies and action plans. We plan the meeting to take part in Bucharest with one policymaker and at least one citizen from each city. And final goal of this session is to draft a manifesto, which is actually a programmatic paper that can more or less develop the agenda of age-friendly city in a more strategic way. It is a unique opportunity of co-creating using people with various expertise or also in transcultural settings. I have to say that I've run co-creation sessions before, but never with people with that different expertise and also in transcultural settings. So it will be challenging. The location is common and it will be a face-to-face meeting. And what we aim is a facilitator and possible assistance for language and clarification. We use materials from previous sessions, allowing participants to see key findings from the projects regarding each of the city involved in the project, as well as each step of the project, to understand a bit the whole concept of our project and all these work packages that I have presented here. We explain also why we need a manifesto and what is the meaning of a manifesto in general as a programmatic paper that or create a kind of orientation of policy plans. We want to get participants familiar with each other and more or less overcome the language and cultural barriers. First, we work in two separate groups, all the adults as a separate group of we will produce ideas and policy makers. Then we bridge these two groups together and draft together common manifesto. Some aspects that we will going to use during this co-creation session would be visual example from the photo production and activities in the project, as I presented also today. Overview of each issue derived from previous working package, also in each city of the project, and asking participants to draft their ideas using brain maps and drawings, as we already have done in previous sessions. So we have some expertise in engaging older adults with this type of activities. We use brainstorming techniques to produce ideas and draft solutions, and it is important to stimulate all participants to contribute what is in the literature co-production games techniques. So last but not the least is challenges when co-creating policies with other adults and policy makers in cross-cultural context. There is a difference in expertise that older adults are lay people, regular citizens, not necessarily who have been involved in the life of the society in the decision-making process, whereas policy makers have been already involved in deciding or applying or implementing different policies and strategies. There is language barriers, and we invited all the adults who are able to communicate in English, but we will be facilitator of this aspect in cases needed. There will be recurrent ideas as stereotypic ideas that might appear in such context, and you have to, as a facilitator, to overcome these challenges. There will be participants which will have a limited contribution, and again, the facilitator has to have intervention to avoid limited contribution from some participants. It is very important for all the adults to understand the stake of such co-creation designs and co-creation environments, and also what exactly is a manifesto and what is doing for the city policy. Again, a bottom-up approach is needed, and drafting ideas with all the adults, with participants, with policymakers, and not from them. And of course, for the research team, is challenging to extract the key ideas and findings from the whole process. And at the end, I would like to mention that the project has various partners, the universities from the 4 cities I mentioned in this presentation, as well as many NGOs and city municipalities from 3 of the cities participating in the project that need to be acknowledged. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Loredana. Great presentation, and let me share my screen. This is a really interesting and impactful project, and we have a lot to learn from your results. And for sure, let's hope that this innovative approach you have can get generalized around EU regions, and the results can cause some systemic change in the way that cities are engaged around Europe. So I would like to ask you 2 or 3 questions so that we can have some of your insights. And what are the main enablers that you could highlight for effectively involving citizens in design of tools and policy plans?
First enable is having a good selection or recruitment of participants. Meaning that the recruitment of participants should follow some criteria, for example, that are relevant for the city level and for the objectives of the activity. For example, in Bucharest's case, I underlined also in the presentation, it was important to involve all the adults from various districts of the city and for other cities as well, because they would have different expertise, different experience of living in the city. And of course, they travel all around the city, not only in their neighborhoods, but they are more familiar with their neighborhoods. And this is important in the recruitment process. And for the policymakers, the same. Well, there would be policymakers who involve in high level of policy plan, but also policymakers involved more in local level of policies, and I think involving both categories is important when you draft such co-creation session.
Thank you.
Well, some also facilitator that has been already or has some expertise in running this session, I think is important as well.
For sure, it's important. Sorry for interrupting. And then moving forward, how can we enhance our mainstream co-creation of policies between citizens and policymakers? Let's say we want to see in the future, like where should we focus?
Well, I have to give the example of Poland here, where in many cities, including those in our projects, there is a council of all the adults at the city level. So, for example, Krakow and Wrocław as well, they have a council of all the adults at the city level. This council is formed by few older adults who are elected by the other citizens. And these people represent actually the interest, the problems of all the adults at the city level. They are policy makers themselves, but representing the older citizens. And I think it's a brilliant idea. We don't have this in many cities. Definitely we don't have it in Romania. And it is important when you want to bridge all the adults with policymakers to have all the adults who are really already involved. I mean, in real, not in imaginary or in the city planning. And I think this all the adults council is a kind of structure that I would advise to be implemented in many other cities.
Sure, and we all need to advocate for and support these endeavors. We saw that the City and Co project uses an innovative spatial tool, a geoportal, as we described earlier. Based on your experience, how can technology support increased engagement and co-creation between citizens and policymakers?
Yes, all these sessions have been run face to face. Well, we use technology like apps and mobile phone as tools during co-creation sessions, which were run face to face. But of course, it will be ideal if we can run these sessions online as well, or with the support of some platforms. It's not always, is this possible? Absolutely. It's not always easy. First, there is an obstacle regarding the digital competence or digital familiarity of all the adults with this platform, and platforms of how easy they are going to perceive the whole process when you ask them to interact with others through a platform. Then it is the level of assistance. I think they can still manage getting along with these platforms and interact with each other, but they need some kind of assistance. So once such a platform will be very intuitive, easy to use, and will have some level of assistance in a form of chat box or other type of assistant, people are going to use it. I'm referring here to all the adults which are a bit behind with some digital skills, but I think this observation extends to people who are not old and might not be that familiar in using such platform. I mean, you can be very young, and if you haven't used this platform, you never use this platform, can be quite difficult, and that's why you need an assistant.
Thank you very much. So, okay, here we can conclude our webinar. Thank you very much, Dana, for all your insights. We really wish you great success with your with the System Co project and all your research endeavors.